Friends, it's Wednesday, and today we're going to look at the story of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And just so you understand, I'm labeling these as I send them out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's not the day in Jesus' life. This isn't an event that happened on Wednesday of Jesus last week. It's simply the day I'm mailing them out. So that's why we do that. It's just to help me to remember what day is what. But today is the Garden of Gethsemane, and this is one of my favorite stories in the life of Jesus. And the reason it's one of my favorite is his true humanity comes out here. We know theologically that Jesus is fully God and fully man. But I think sometimes we deny his humanity to a degree in order to elevate his deity. And we don't allow Jesus to be fully human like you and me. We have to understand that Hebrews chapter 2 through 4 talks about the humanity of Christ in a way, saying he's just like you and me, except he never sinned. Let's keep that in mind today as we walk through the story of the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus has just finished the upper room where they had the Lord's Supper. Then he's gone to the garden now to pray. And this is where he's going to be betrayed, and he knows it. But let's look at his prayer. Verse 36, we're in Matthew 26, verse 36. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, which is James and John, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. So here's the humanity of Christ coming out. He's in anguish. He's full of anxiety. He said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death." You can see the intensity of Jesus' anxiety here and concern for what's going to happen. And we can summarize, or we can what's the word I'm looking for? We can surmise that, he doesn't want to face the cross because of the torture, the pain. All that's very true. Who would want to? But Jesus also knows what's ahead when it comes to bearing the weight of the sins of the world and what that will do to him in his relationship to his Father. So that's the basis of Jesus' prayer. And in his humanity, as the man Jesus Christ, he's intensely full of sorrow and anxiety. So he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." Interesting choice of words, watch with me. He didn't say remain here and pray with me. He upped the ante on the intensity of prayer. Keep watch with me. Jesus knew the spiritual battle he was in, the spiritual warfare taking place here. I actually believe that the Garden of Gethsemane is an extension of the temptation from Matthew chapter 4. I'll have to try and prove that at some other time. But there's an intense spiritual battle going on right here. And he wants his three closest friends, Peter, James, and John, to be in prayer, but to keep watch for him, to watch over him, to put intercessory prayer that he would have the strength to get through this. I need you men. I need you men to help me. Pray for me. Keep watch with me. And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed. So just get that image in your head. Jesus in his anxiety just hits the ground, saying, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." And there is the struggle. God, there has to be a better way. I don't want to go to the cross. I don't want to bear the weight of the world. I'm reading in between the lines. But right now, this plan doesn't seem like the best one. Is there any other way? But not my will be done. I submit to your will. That is the heart of what it means to be human. That whenever you have a desire to do something, the first thing you say is, "God, what is your will? I want to do it your way, not my way." So Jesus is intent on keeping the Father's will, but he's also expressing a great anxiety in facing the cross and all that it means. It's at this moment in the Gospel of Luke that Luke brings in some other information. This is what Luke says there in chapter 22, verse 43 and 44. And there there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like drops of blood falling down onto the ground. So you get the picture here of this incredible agony Jesus is in, so much so that he has no strength. An angel comes and ministers to him, both probably a physical and a spiritual ministering. The only other time we see an angel ministering to Jesus is in Matthew chapter 4 during the temptation. So interesting, both of these times show the intensity that's happening in Jesus' life. But it goes on. He came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, So could you not watch with me for 1 hour? It's like, I needed you. I needed you. And you couldn't even do it for 1 hour? So you can imagine Peter, they had this meal. Their Last Supper was a full meal. And with it comes a couple glasses of wine. They come out into a dark garden, the cool of the evening. Of course they're going to fall. They close their eyes to pray for Jesus and they fall asleep. And this is what he says, watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. We all experience that. I know what I want to do. I know what would honor God. I just find myself not doing it. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Again, for the second time, he went away and prayed. My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done. And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words again. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, sleep and take your rest later on. See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand, referring to Judas. And so we'll talk about that tomorrow. But for today, I want to leave us with this thought, and that is that our Savior, 100% God, 100% man, truly expressed true humanity in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he submits to his Father's will as opposed to one he could come up with. He obviously had a plan B in mind, some kind of plan B, or he wanted the Father to come up with plan B. But in the end, he said, not my will, but your will be done. That's what it means to be a human being and to follow our great God and Savior. Lord, it's not my will I want done. What is your will? And you've enabled me to keep it. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. So Lord, give me the strength to do your will. That's what our Savior did for us. And the next day, he was crucified. So we'll talk tomorrow from Matthew and Luke again and talk about the betrayal of Judas and the denial of Peter. Talk tomorrow.